in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon to people on the East Coast. Good morning to Central Time, Mountain Time, Pacific Time. South America, welcome Europe. It's happy hour there. And for our friends in India, it's bedtime. Thanks for joining us wherever you are in the world. My name is Scott Hayes, and I am the host of the brand new, shiny The DataView Show. And today we've got some really great IBM people lined up to share information with us. This is episode number 1, new news around DB2 hybrid data management. We'll talk about the journey to AI, and we're going to have some information about a very exciting DB2 Hack-a-Thon that's coming up soon. Les, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Scott. How are you doing?
Very good. It's great to have you back. You're a great,
glad to be here.
Great contributor to the IBM community. And somebody new I just met recently, Eiley Nielsen, Senior Community Manager. How are you today, Eiley?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very good, very good. Since this is your first exposure to our community, tell us a secret, private little thing about yourself, a hobby or something.
On the side, I am a yoga instructor.
Oh, how awesome! I need to go to yoga classes.
Yeah.
Yoga.
Yeah, go to yoga classes. It's never a poor choice. Never.
I need to start stretching my legs and things. And Vin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm having a great day, man. I'm running a brand new show, and I got some cool IBM people with me. Tell us something personal about yourself. Are you a yoga instructor too?
Not that exciting. I'm more on the boring side. I just like to paint in my free time. Takes my head off all the technical aspects of the world. It calms me down.
Painting, that's pretty cool. You'll have to send me a picture of some of your paintings.
For sure.
Everybody's Twitter handle is shown here if anyone in the audience wants to get in touch with these nice people. Let's see. This is the required legal gibberish. The opinions expressed are that of Scott Hayes and the show guests and do not necessarily reflect that of IBM Corporation or the IBM community. My friends at IBM made me put that in there. DB2 is a registered trademark of IBM, which is also a registered trademark of IBM. We make no claims to any marks belonging to anyone, and this event is being recorded. Replays will be publicly available. Mind your manners. What's ahead? I got a few news bits for you, and then we're going to find out about the DB2 Hack-a-Thon, learn about DB2 hybrid data management news. Got a couple of polling questions for our audience, and I've got lots of thank yous on deck. Some upcoming shows I'd like you to be aware of. 17th of October, a couple of weeks away, Steve Astorino. He's Vice President up there at IBM Canada, Vice President of DB2 and Business Analytics. He's got a cool presentation, kind of a keynote technical presentation, infusing AI into your apps. On the 7th of November, another IBM Vice President, Al Martin. He's got a great talk on the information architecture and the ladder to artificial intelligence, IA and the ladder to AI. And he's giving that keynote at IDUG in Rotterdam, and we'll have that presentation here on our show, 7th of November. 21st of November, a very popular blogger. You might be reading his blogs. A gentleman named Raghu Sharakuru, and I hope I didn't mess up his last name. He's going to have a DB2 performance talk for us. 5th of December, Paul Zakopoulos. He's got a talk for us on AI and Watson. And on the 19th of December, this is your Christmas gift, Peter Coleman from IBM. He's going to introduce us to the new DB2 console, which is the successor product to IBM DSM. So save those dates on your calendars and check the show website. Make sure you get registered for those. URLs to visit. You know, I was just recently attending the IBM Gold Consultant Briefing in Toronto, and I learned about a lot of cool resources that IBM has available. I wanted to share them with you here briefly. If you haven't joined the IBM community yet, you want to check that out. That's where IBM interested people hang out. You're going to find resources there, and you can discuss things. And there's blogs, and you don't want to miss that. You're going to hear about this from Ailey and Vin. The masterclass, BeMyApp.com. That's all about the Db2 Hack-a-Thon. There's a new, it's in beta, this Augmented Data Explorer for Db2. Check that out. It looks really cool. It's like a GUI tool to explore your data. On GitHub, IBM is now putting all the Db2 samples up there, tons of Db2 sample code, things you can work with. You can find out about that new Db2 console, the successor to IBM DSM, ibm.biz/Db2 console. There's a free book on JSON that George Bacalars and somebody else wrote. It's a free book. Just go there. And if you're an IBM champion or know somebody who should be one, ibm.biz/champ-renew. So check that out. If you're a champion, make sure you've submitted your application. If you know somebody who's awesome and a great contributor to the IBM community, nominate them. Okay, it's time to giddy up and move along and find out about that Db2 Hack-a-Thon. I'm going to make Ailey our presenter.
Thank you.
Here we go. Click my button, make presenter. And you click your button and we're off to the races. There it is. I can see your screen. Go to presentation mode. It looks beautiful.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Eileen Nielsen, and I am the Community Events Program Manager for the IBM community. And I'm here today to share some exciting opportunities that we've created for you to participate in around Db2. So let me click over to my next slide here. Right now, the IBM Db2 Masterclass is live at ibm.biz/Db2 Masterclass. And this is a free virtual course that includes 12 videos that are going to be split up into 3 sections, and it takes approximately 1 hour to complete. To access the course, all you have to do is leave your email address, and then you will receive an email that grants you access to the microcourse, which features IBM Db2 solutions for applications that are broken down into 3 sections. There is Db2 for machine learning applications, Db2 for web application building, and a bonus track, which is the blockchain section. So our expert in IBM instructor, Vin Agarwal, who's going to be speaking to you next, teaches this course, and it's broken down into easy to digest video bites of the need to know information for both onboarding and context, and then Vin introduces some applied demos for further comprehension. And again, this is a virtual course, and it's completely free. It's meant to be done side by side with putting the course to practice while coding through a light account that IBM provides for free. And the content is targeted for developers that are new to the community and is perfect for people who are familiar with Python or Node. And of course, it's also available for existing IDUG or Db2 users. More than welcome to participate. And some of the techniques shared could also be new to you as well, like the blockchain bonus course. And this course is intended to serve as an educational resource for those who would like to participate in the upcoming Db2 Hack-a-Thon, which is a really exciting opportunity. We've been working so hard on it, and we're really looking forward to to getting that up and running and bringing that to all of you. And this is a virtual worldwide hackathon. The prizes are all also worldwide, and it's intended for non-IBMers. And the prizes are, we're going to have a prize pool that's totals $15K. So it's really, really exciting for us to be able to provide that. And all of our masterclass students are going to be invited to this science fair style hackathon. And it's going to be taking place from October 11th to the 13th. Again, that's the weekend of October 11th to the 13th. Our participants are going to be creating imaginary use case projects or possibly migrating real world use cases and showcasing them on a project page that is going to be on the hackathon platform. And again, that prize pool is $15K, and the winners are going to be announced at the IDUG conference taking place in Rotterdam on October 22nd. Vin and I will be there in person to present the winners. And you can publish the projects alone or as a team or even with a startup. The main goal here is going to be to create a robust and unique web or machine learning application. And that's all I have to share with you guys. And I'm going to hand it over to Vin so he can dive into a bit more detail with you.
So you're going to Rotterdam?
Yeah.
I have just one question. Do you have room in your luggage for me?
Maybe. If you want to pay for me to check a bag, then yeah, we could try to squeeze you in.
All right, Vin.
Hey, Eiley, did you say that the price is $15,000 US?
$15,000 US. Yes, Vin.
My God, that's way more than my paycheck. And it's available worldwide?
Yeah, worldwide. Absolutely.
So anybody from China and Australia or India can win $15,000 just over a weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I know what I'm doing over that weekend. What
I
are you doing?
I don't know if you're allowed to participate. We'll see.
Oh my God. That's not good. But I'll tell all my friends to make their yearly paycheck in a weekend.
There we go. Perfect.
That's awesome. Okay, guys. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am super excited to be on this show. Scott, I have to say, I really like the name of your show, the DataView, because it's always been data insights. So DataView is a little bit changed to it. So that's a great name.
Thank you.
Coming back to the hackathon itself, I made the course for all of you to learn. And I wanted to share why we made the course in the way that we made it. And we kind of looked at three perspectives that are most motivating for developers. You know, every time when I am thinking about learning something, I just keep thinking, and then it never actually happens because I don't know where to get started and why I should do it today, you know, because it always keeps moving ahead that maybe I'll do it over next weekend, maybe I'll do it over next month, and so on and so forth. So to create that motivation for everyone just like me who has a free weekend but really doesn't have enough motivation, and to give guidance to learn things that mean the most in today's technical market, are the three motivational pillars for me to create this course for you. So we looked at what are the most in-demand skills nowadays, and I scoured the whole internet, and for 2018, 2019, 2020, machine learning, web applications, blockchain keeps hitting the top in-demand skills in the market. So how do we learn that? Is through a structured course. And you can go on various places to learn that, but who has the time of 3 months to do a nano degree? And that is why we did the design of micro courses here. In terms of when you are learning these and you have questions, you know, you think, okay, I like this, but I'm not able to fully understand why it is being done the way it is, or why machine learning uses this algorithm, or why machine learning does not use this the other algorithm. is where we need guidance and help to actually understand that why things are being done in a certain way. That is why we have availability of mentors from IBM as experts to guide you, to answer your questions, and to help you use the technologies that are most impactful in today's world, which can mean DB2 in containers, DB2 on cloud, machine learning tools, notebooks, all those kind of things, Hyperledger, blockchain, etc., etc. I mean, I can keep going on, but the most in-demand skills, surrounded by guidance to help you overcome your challenges, and the motivation is the prize. So winning the USD amount or even getting recognition that you participated and you created something nice is always good. Also, in this hackathon and in this whole journey of masterclass, you can collaborate with other people who are like you. So for example, if you join the hackathon and you find really like-minded people who are working on a use case that you are interested in as well, you know, these things end up being very, very well, because at the end of the day, if you deliver on the hackathon, you can actually take away a really useful use case that you can talk about to your friends. You can talk about the new machine learning or the blockchain use case that you implemented at a hackathon. You can make new friends, find like-minded people, and if you win, I mean, then you can book your next vacation tickets. So
you could go to IDUG in Rotterdam.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and I think the motivation there is coming to Rotterdam.
There you go.
So learn, practice, and get recognized. That's the key aspects for this whole masterclass, and I hope you guys take it, enjoy it, and I wish you win the prizes as well. It's only over a weekend, October 11 to October 13. That's the next weekend we are talking about. So let's do this right now. Let's just get this over with, do it, learn it, practice it, and get the recognition. So thanks a lot, Scott, and thanks everyone.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Thank you. Got some big applause going for you. That's great.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
Make friends, learn new skills, and maybe run off with a big bag of money. You can't lose on that deal.
Yeah,
All right. I'm going to make myself the presenter for a quick moment. And it's time to get Les on to hear about his new DB2 news, hybrid data management, and AI. Are you ready, Les?
Yeah, you bet. Can you hear me all right, Scott?
I can, and I'm making you the presenter right now.
All right, click on the button. All right. Oh, I'm getting to presentation mode. Should be good to go if you can see the chart.
It looks awesome in that picture of you too. Did you go to a wedding or something? You're very handsome.
Well, you know, I'm working on my Halloween costume. It is October, so I figured I'd see what the reaction is from the crowd today.
All right. Share with us your presentation, sir.
All right, thanks so much. And thanks for having me on your first DataView show. Really good to be here with you going through this. So what I wanted to do is cover a couple of things, Scott. And I noticed you've got a lot of AI-related topics coming up on your agenda for the rest of the year, and not at all surprising given this is sort of front and center to our strategy as well, and actually had a significant role to play in our strategy and investment areas associated with DB2 version 11.5, which we're going to jump into. But first, I'll just say a few introductory concepts around AI, which become important to understand as we look at where we're investing in the DB2 space. So something that I'm sure the audience is very familiar with is that AI is becoming more and more a part of our day-to-day lives, and the infusion of AI inside applications is something that we're going to be exposed to, even if we don't realize it, more and more. And you can see some examples here on the screen, whether it's GPS systems that are helping us get from point A to point B, or enhancements in healthcare, where, for instance, China has introduced a chat bot, which is basically the AI version of Dr. House, for those of you who've ever watched the show House. And of course, on the entertainment side, there's a lot of AI behind the selection of shows and so on with Netflix. But whatever industry we're in, self-driving cars, you know, the mobile applications, healthcare, entertainment, and so on, AI is becoming more and more prevalent. And actually, I wanted to highlight in the food and refreshment area, particularly good use of AI in taking feedback from consumers to help this particular brewery refine its various types of beers, whether they be lagers or pilsners or whatever, and to receive recommendations on how to tweak recipes based on the feedback that comes in. So whether for good, you know, healthcare and being able to treat patients better, or to help improve the quality of the fun aspects of our life through Netflix and our tasty refreshments, AI is all over the place. And as we focus on trying to make sure we're providing a platform for AI, there's a few kind of key dimensions that we have to focus on, making sure that we're meeting client needs. And some examples of this would include data coming from many different sources and many different kinds of data. So traditionally, we would have talked about structured data and the things that would have traditionally been stored inside DB2, but now we need to think about semi-structured data and unstructured data, and being able to have access to that data no matter where it sits. The ability to deal with things like data in motion as well as data at rest, and to be able to analyze streaming data is another new dimension. Being able to work with data that's in many different locations, whether it's in the public cloud, whether it's in the private cloud environment, and more we're seeing companies adopting a multi-cloud strategy where they have provisioning agreements with Amazon and Microsoft and IBM and so on, and it's not just one strategic partner. So multiple dimensions have to deal with SQL and NoSQL applications, moving to an as-a-service model, being able to leverage proprietary components and integrate those with open source components. So when we talk about the ability to help clients collect the data that they're going to need as kind of the first step towards moving towards an AI based and infused application, there is many dimensions associated with just that collect phase. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that sort of ladder to AI, but where we play in the world of DB2 is in that first phase. It's in that collect phase. And what it means to collect data has significantly changed, and I've just covered many of the dimensions of where those changes are occurring. Now, it's very important to step back and understand realistically where we are from an AI perspective. The first is the world of AI that Isaac Asimov would have presented in iRobot or something like that. That's not what we're talking about, right? That's, you know, a good, 6-7 decades away from now. But what we are talking about is having computers learn on their own, but we need to feed them the information that they require to learn. And we have a couple of challenges. The first is over 80% of companies probably do not understand what it means to provide information that is sufficient and complete so that a computer system can learn what it needs to learn to be successful in what we're asking it to do. And that's significant, right? That means there's a ton of education that needs to take place before we're going to have a successful first step. And secondly, almost half of clients feel that the data that they have, once they do understand what's required, isn't ready, right? So there's work to do. So first there's educational work to do, awareness work to do, and then there's actually real work to do to make sure we collect the data that's required. And this really is very important because this is the first step of AI. The whole world of DB2 and your data platform is the first and key fundamental component in any successful journey to AI. And so from that kind of comes the important point, which is there is no AI without information architecture. And the collection of quality data and the proper labeling of that data is of paramount importance in that first phase. And let's just kind of put a funny cartoon in here that cracked me up. But one of the things that's very important is that as we're putting data out there, we need to not only focus on having a complete set of data so we can properly train computers, but we also have to be careful of our own biases and not even realizing that we're excluding data. So let's talk about a simple example. I want to teach a computer to be able to recognize a human being or a dog or a horse or whatever, right? Just think of, you know, a simple example like that. Well, let's think about what kind of data is going to be required to teach a computer to recognize when there's, say, a human being in a picture or a video or something like that. Well, first I have to feed lots of photos of human beings. Now, if you think about the diversity that will be required there, you've got babies, you know, a 1 month-old and a 1 year-old and a 10-year-old and a 90-year-old look very different, right? So you have to have coverage on age. You have to be able to deal with people with different skin colors, height, different shapes, eye color, hair color, and so on. And then you have to get into situations, you know, what if somebody has lost a limb? You don't want the computer to not recognize them as a human being. What if someone's in a wheelchair? You don't want them to not be recognized as a human being and you know, look like they're a chair or something, right? So there's a lot of different dynamics involved with just thinking. Then you think about a situation where you and I could look out into a field and we could say, oh, there's a person there, but meanwhile you just saw maybe one arm and one leg from behind a tree or behind a park bench or something like that. So then you have to bring partial pictures into the equation and make sure that the computer system is recognizing, yeah, there's a human being there, even though you can't see the whole human being. And so when you take all of these dynamics and bring them together, you could require hundreds of thousands of photos and basically learning assets of just what a human being is for a computer to answer a simple question of, point out the human being, or is there a human being inside this photo, this video, whatever. And now think about, then you have to propagate that out to, think about all the, dogs that are out there, or horses, or whatever, right? You can obviously expand that concept to anything that we're trying to teach a computer. So it's very important that we recognize our own bias, and we also have to make sure that there is completeness and accuracy in the information we're using to train computers. And I've mentioned this AI ladder a couple times, and what I'm talking about here is the collect phase, and this is the AI ladder. And when we talk about the journey to AI, the very first thing that has to be done is the data platform has to be complete from the point of view of whatever it is you're trying to train an AI system. After that, you're going to need to organize your data, and you're going to have to deal with governance and quality of that data and so on. And then you can start analyzing it. And the end goal, of course, is infusion. And I noticed on your future agenda, you've got that topic, infusing AI into the application. You want to get to a point where I don't have to actually explicitly ask for the AI intelligence in some process. It should just be built into the applications we use. And what we find in the end is we have much smarter applications, much smarter tools, much smarter cars, and so on. Right? And so when we talk about that expression that I brought up earlier, there is no AI without IA, we are really, when we talk about information architecture, referring to the first two steps on the AI ladder, which is the collect and organize. Getting all the data ready for the consumption and analytics and infusion of AI. So everything that's required to get the data ready is what we call the information architecture piece of this conversation. So as we jump into our DB2 11.5 latest announcements and so on, and latest capabilities, a lot of what's influenced our plan, our focus in technologies, and our investment areas has been around helping clients have a successful information architecture, or a high quality information architecture that then allows them to have the successful adoption and infusion of AI into their applications. And you know, we're going to be talking a lot about AI, but it is very important to also understand that AI is not the end all and be all of everything. It's not going to take over the world. And I always thought this was a really funny expression. You know, artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. So there is going to be a lot of things that AI can do, but there's also going to be a lot of things that AI is not going to get us to in the near term. So let's jump in now to the DB2 part of the conversation, right? First is DB2, we want to build for AI. In other words, we want DB2 to be a cornerstone of companies' successful information architecture. So as they start consuming AI, DB2 is helping them get ready. But also something that's very important and will have tremendous value to our clients is how can we leverage AI inside DB2 to make DB2 a better platform for the consumption of AI. And we'll talk about an example of that, an example of many of these items that are listed here as we drill down a little bit more into our 11.5 conversation. So as we talk about DB2 11.5, we are obviously being very heavily influenced and a very high focus and priority put onto the whole AI strategy that we've just gone through. But there's a few other points that are very important to bring up as well. The first is we need to make sure that as we help companies prepare a collect phase and a strong data platform for the collect phase, that we're handling any kind of workload. And that gets into traditional OLTP and OLAP workloads, as well as big data and fast data workloads. So being able to consume data from sensors and devices, as well as large volumes of data and data from many, many different sources. And we've talked about some of the dimensions of that as well. So one thing you'll see in our focus is the ability to handle any kind of workload. And a second is to be able to provide a flexible set of choices on the deployment form. Some companies are being very aggressive about moving to the public cloud, but you know what? We've actually only reached about the 20% point of applications that are in the cloud, and that 80% is still to go. So there's lots of non-public cloud deployments that we continue to need to be focused on, and that includes traditional on-premise deployments, appliance deployment forms, and also a lot of companies are taking a first step into the cloud by doing private cloud deployments and basically getting the software benefits, the software as a service, the elasticity, the containerized based approach for software deployments, but doing it on-premise behind their firewall in a private cloud type deployment form. And so one dimension, all workloads. Second dimension, very flexible in the deployment forms that we support with our DB2 code base. And that does get into our DB2 code base. So we're going to be having a conversation about DB2 11.5 today, but DB2 is actually the cornerstone technical asset in something we call the Common SQL Engine. And what is the Common SQL Engine? This is a software asset that is inside most of our strategic hybrid data management offerings. What does that mean? It means that clients have a write once, run anywhere type of investment protection. In other words, if you want to have your production environment on premise, but maybe leverage the cloud for dev test, you want to know that when you do your development and functional testing out in the cloud, that it's actually going to work on premise. That means you need to be running the same software in both places. If you want to leverage the cloud, for instance, as a disaster recovery location, again, you need to know the same software is running in both locations. Or if you want to shift some of your on-premise traditional deployments out into, say, an open source Hadoop platform, and you still need your applications to work, your investments in Tableau and Cognos and so on, you still want to make sure those are working. The only way you can know for sure that's all going to work is if you're running the same underlying software in Hadoop, right? You want to know that security works the same way, governance works the same way, data movement works the same way. The way, obviously, your applications themselves, the skills that you need to manage those environments, you want to know that these all work the same way. And the way that is accomplished is through this common software asset that we call the Common SQL Engine, which then allows you to shift through the deployment forms without the rest of your ecosystem breaking. It means that the rest of your ecosystem can go along for the ride. And that is really all about investment protection. Investment protection in your investments of applications, ecosystem, governance, security, and your skill base. And then we want to provide a single flexible offering mechanism that matches to the technology I just described, and that's what we call the hybrid data management platform. And basically what that says is you come and get from IBM your envelope of capacity for deployment, and then you go deploy wherever you like. And if you want to shift some of that deployment from on-premise to the cloud, or from a traditional proprietary DB2 deployment to a Hadoop environment, but DB2 Big SQL, or whatever it is you want to do for your strategy and your corporate's best practices, you can shift those usage patterns to any deployment form, and as long as you stay within your capacity envelope, you don't need to talk to us. You've got that complete flexibility. So with that as a foundation for DB2 11.5, let's talk about what we've actually done. So in June, we GA'd 11.5.0, and we're going to follow a very similar delivery mechanism and philosophy as we did with 11.1. And that is, we're going to have about every 9 months, a train will leave the station, and it'll contain new functions in it. And we have a kind of our next modification pack or function pack, whatever you like to call it, ready to go and planned out for the first half of next year. So within around 9 months of the GA of 11.5, we'll have an 11.5.1 mod pack. And we will do this with, train schedules like every 6-9 months or approximately that time frame, just as we did with 11.1. And of course, in between those functional train departure schedules, we'll have the ability to pick up fixes. So that's the first thing. You're going to see continual delivery of new high-value capabilities in DB2 11.5 about every 9 months. Now, what that does mean is that there will be no more new function. We, of course, still support it, but there'll be no more new function in the 11.1 code line. So new function for 11.1 is done. Of course, we're going to continue to support new fixes, and of course, it's still supported. We haven't even announced an end of support time frame for 11.1 at this point, but all new function and future investment in the Common SQL Engine will come out from an 11.5 code base perspective.
And
now, one of the most important things
Les, there's more good news. We're going to have Carrie Romanofu. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. She's DB2's chief architect. She's going to be a guest on the show in April talking about some of those updates.
Oh, well, that's great news because that timing is perfect. She'll be able to come on and basically give you an 11.5.1 overview of that point in time. And you mentioned iDoug before. We'll be doing a lot of focus on 11.5.1 at iDoug in Dallas in June of next year. So that's going to be a great time, a great timing for really talking about a whole bunch of new things.
Excellent. And if your voice needs a break, I've got a couple polling questions I can ask anytime. Let me know.
Hey, you know what? If you want to take that break right now, since we're chatting, why don't you go ahead and do that?
All right. I'll ask a polling question. Where are you along your journey to AI? Are you learning about it? Projects ramping up? We're live with one or more solutions. Our good-looking audience is voting. We try to get 80% of the audience to participate, at least 80% or 30 seconds, whichever comes first. Move your mice and give us an opinion on this. Going once, going twice, closing the poll, sharing the results. 83% are learning about it, 10% have projects ramping up, 7% are already live with some AI stuff. That's cool. And let's see. Are you a member of the IBM community yet? IBM.com/community. If you're not, I'd suggest checking it out. It costs nothing, and you might learn something. And it's free. Going once, going twice. We're going to close the poll in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And the audience said 42% yes, 58% no. So that's good. Hopefully we've raised your awareness to the existence of the IBM community. All right, that should be back to Les's screen. Les, carry on. That's all I have for now.
All right, yeah, thanks, Scott. So one of the big things that we accomplished in 11.5 is we actually merged what were separate code bases in the past. The event store had its own code base, our warehouse line had its own code base, and this is very important that we've merged all these into one for both us and our clients. One is development can be much more efficient now. When we put out a new function, we don't have to get it out a bunch of different code lines, so it makes us much more efficient. But also for clients, we talked about our common SQL engine story. It's very important to understand that when we have separate code lines, it makes it easier to have a Swiss cheese story there where, well, you know, this capability is in this set of offerings, but not that set of offerings, and it really dwindles a little bit on the write once, run anywhere storyline. And so we fixed that now, and we now have one single code base that then feeds into all of these offerings that you see here in yellow on the bottom right. But the one thing to keep in mind is that each offering may have a slightly different train schedule. So I talked about Db2's train schedule, and it's about every 6 to 9 months. But in a fully managed environment, we can actually make updates to the software about every 1 to 2 months. So at any given point in time, there may be slightly different levels of software out there, but it's all one code base, all the code's there. And as all the trains leave their various stations, then everything will be synced up. So as we talk about Db2 11.5, there's what I'll call 3 categories of investment areas. The first is areas where we were able to pick up value from capabilities we'd added to this warehouse line as we merged it into the code base line. And here's some great examples, right? The ability to support external tables is now in Db2 11.5. This basically gives you the ability to have files outside of the database, but queryable. So you can, for instance, have a CSV file, and you can query it just like any other table, but it's outside, it lives outside the database. And one of the great benefits of external tables is the ability to have very high performing ingestion and unloading of data from in and out of Db2. And that was one of the items actually that was brought into the common SQL engine through our Netezza acquisition. Second ability, columnar table grooming to give better compression rates. And basically, as we were loading in data into a column or table, we would identify patterns that we wanted to start compressing throughout that load process. and then we start compressing that data. But we never actually went back and compressed the data that first went in that could also benefit from those entries in the compression dictionary. And so now we do that. Then we go back and add that delta compression. Huge focus on our Netezza compatibility layer, both from a performance and a functional application portability perspective. And we've introduced something called reduced logging. And this is, again, driven by the Netezza code line. Netezza was not a logged system. And so a lot of the Netezza clients have said they don't want that overhead of logging, particularly where they're doing mass amounts of ingestion. And so basically, if reduced logging is turned on, and it's in DB2, it's off by default, so no behavioral changes to normal DB2 processing. But if you do want to turn reduced logging on, what will happen is if we detect a large amount of inserts or data ingestion going on, we'll stop logging that, and we can save up to about 95% of the log activity associated with those types of workloads. Now, there is a cost for this, and that is you'll lose point-in-time recovery. As a for instance, right? You can't do point-in-time recovery if you haven't captured all your logs. So there is a trade-off there, but very valuable capability if needed. And then we have a set of items. All of those previous items are available in some form in the GA. And then we have a set of items that were coming in from the warehouse line, but they didn't quite make the 11.5 GA and should be there in an 11.5.1, 11.5.2 type time frame. So schema level security is basically just that, being able to do grant and revoke at the schema level and not have to deal with every single object within the schema. The integration of adaptive workload management, which is really an automated resource management capability, and our traditional workload management, where you get to define service classes and thresholds and workloads and so on, and be able to tell DB2 what your policies are for the priorities and prioritizations of your workload. Bringing those two things together is what we're working on right now, and we'll see a first significant phase of that integration coming out in 11.5.1. I mentioned the Netezza compatibility already. Another one was Spark integration. In our warehouse line, we actually integrated a Spark engine on each of the DPF partitions in a partitioned environment in DB2 Warehouse on Cloud, and so on. Now, there's some platform restrictions associated with Spark that we're working through, but hope to get that out into the DB2 code base very soon. One of the other areas that we've been working on that is new, so that's the first bucket, right? The things that came in from the warehouse line. The second bucket are items that are net new investment areas. And one of those areas is leveraging machine learning to help improve our optimizer. Now, before I hopefully attempt to show a demo here, we are going to be very thoughtful and very careful about how we deliver this. We need to make sure we don't cause any regressions to existing client environments and workloads. We've done a phase 1 of cardinality estimation, which is turned off by default. The clients can turn that on in 11.5. So again, nothing will change default and existing behaviors. But we wanted to get the first phase of our machine learning optimizer out for clients to use. And if this is going to work, let's just see. And Scott, you can let me know if this doesn't work. But let's just try the demo. And oh, that doesn't seem to want to work. Let me bring up the actual recording here. We'll see if we can get this to work.
Oh, those PowerPoint integrations with video.
Yeah, seem to, here we go. Let's try this. Let me know if this is working.
Yeah, and keep your microphone near your audio source so we can hear it.
All on my computer. Full volume.
I don't hear anything.
Les, there's no sound coming over.
No sound?
No.
Okay, well, we won't be able to, I guess we'll just stop this then. We're not going to be able to fix that right now. So I'll just summarize that before we move on to the next step, which is we've done a lot of work and research to take a look at, what would be the value of applying machine learning to our optimizer. And what we found is we could see, 10x, 100x, even 1,000x performance query performance gains on many queries when applying machine learning to our optimizer, which has given us a lot of excitement around the potential of leveraging machine learning. And now we're looking at the various stages. And as I mentioned, we've delivered stage 1 already. So offline from this at some point, if there is a recording from Sam Lightstone, who's our CTO, that kind of goes through what we're seeing in research and some of that potential. So continuing on the new items, storage with 4K sector sizes, which we put out as a tech preview in 11.144, is now GA'd. We've introduced a new simplified log management capability. The purpose of this is to help clients avoid out-of-log space errors. And this primarily happened when you have non-SQL aware applications just running long-running queries and not completing any kind of unit of work. And so when we detect something like that happening, we'll start pulling the log records out of the active log files so that other transactions can complete and the log files can close and be archived. And then when the long-running transaction finishes, we'll go and make sure all the logs are, the archive logs are whole. So there's no sacrifice here. You still have point-in-time recovery. You can still use log-based replication solutions and so on. Pure scale enhancement, a lot of focus on pure scale, including new security, new isolation levels, a much nicer free space management and reclaim capability, and of course, more on simplicity and performance. Performance is front and center, and of course, the machine learning based optimizer is a huge part of that as well. Those are all available in GA, and then there's more to come. We've got a lot of work we're doing around enhancements to our Blue and organized by column tables. Lob support's in there now. We've half finished the temporal tables with user-defined temporal tables. System-maintained temporal tables are still to come. Triggers to come, range partitioning to come. We've got enhanced DR, HADR, and continuous availability solutions. HADR read on standby is a major area of focus, and backup support on the standby is kind of a key item that we're working on, and lots of focus on developers as well, and including JSON support. So the ability to work with JSON natively inside of DB2, both from a SQL and a NoSQL perspective. NoSQL using the Mongo API, and SQL following the new SQL 2016 standards for working with JSON using SQL. So a lot of really rich items there. I mentioned high availability and disaster recovery items.
Les, sir?
Yeah.
You might want to go back to full screen mode.
Yeah, I just noticed that myself too. There you go.
Awesome.
We had a gap in our solutions. HADR supports everything but DPF, and then we leveraged QRep for DPF. HADR does support organized by column, but not in a DPF environment. So a column or DPF environment is something that we've enhanced QRep to handle now. And because of the common SQL engine, you can use QReplication now to, say, have an on-premise DB2 or IIS environment, and then put their disaster recovery environment out in the cloud using DB2 Warehouse on Cloud as a for instance. So a lot of very, very rich topologies are supported with this new capability. And one of the reasons we call this our best practice around HA and DR in a DPF environment is because it allows for active-active, read-write configurations. It supports time delay, and subsetting is very important for very large warehouses. So very rich set of functionality, and this will significantly close a gap in our DR solutions that that we did have for a short period of time. Also, QRep can provide the ability to cross version boundaries. So if you're looking for continuous availability, even when you cross version boundaries, QRep can provide that solution as well. Another area that the sort of the third chunk of areas that we're working on are areas that are net new, but kind of outside the common SQL engine. So we had our first chunk, which is the items we're buying from the warehouse line. A second chunk, which is items that are net new, but part of our engine. And then the third is areas that are coming in, are contributions from outside the engine. And this is a key area. We've got a demo of this as well, but we won't be able to show that because of the audio issues. But what we've basically done is we've taken Gremlin, the Gremlin Graph Query API, and integrated it with SQL. Now, the ability to do graph query is one of the things that comes from Spark and the integration of Spark. So the raw ingredients to do this integration of SQL and graph query is available in the offerings that have the integrated Spark engine. And as I mentioned, that's something that is coming as in a future DB2 release as well. Another capability that's net new is the ability to just talk to DB2 and ask DB2 what queries you want, like what information do you want. So the whole concept of, similar to what we've got in our homes with Hey Alexa and things like that, to be able to say, hey DB2, I'm Al King, and I'd like to know, hey, what was our revenue results for yesterday? And then tie this into a augmented data explorer, which then provides a very graphical way of returning data. So what you get is not a result set, but you actually get something that's been visualized using, say, bar graphs or pictograms or whatever it is that pie charts or whatever it is that you're looking for. So here's a kind of a screenshot, and you can see the URL. Anybody can download this and give it a try. You can use the Augmented Data Explorer and say, hey, average sales by region or average profit for Northeast region. And what you get back is the data visualization version of the result set, not just a row and column based result set. And that's, I think, going to be a very powerful capability for data scientists. Here's just another couple of examples. And if you come up with a request that can't be responded to with a simple query against a single table, in the first version of the Augmented Data Explorer, it would come back and say, hey, I can't answer your question with a single object. Now it'll automatically create the joins that it needs to across multiple objects, including federated objects. So this is a heterogeneous solution giving you access to all of your data wherever it may sit. So very, very powerful capability, and removing the need for people to be SQL experts to get the full benefits of the data that's stored inside our DB2 and data platforms. And how do we accomplish that federated capability? It's through data virtualization, right? The ability to have a single entry point, but be able to get access to cloud sources of data, no SQL sources of data, data sources storing semi-structured data, traditional relational data sources, and to be able to do this in a constellation type manner where it's very scalable as you add more data sources and more volumes from those data sources. And so just to wind off on a couple of topics here, I mentioned the hybrid data management platform. We have drastically simplified our licensing and packaging in 11.5. We have both perpetual and monthly licenses for that, that very flexible, move your deployments around wherever you like construct, which we call the hybrid data management platform. And we've created 3 simple additions for DB2 and 11.5. There are no more functional restrictions in any edition. So you can use Blue, you can use Pure Scale, you can use full compression, whatever it is you like in any edition. The only thing that we will restrict based on the edition license you have is your compute capacity. And we've also done it so that you can install the community and standard license editions on any hardware. We'll automatically constrain the core and memory usage to what your license says you can have. So you can't be in violation of your license agreement, and every edition is fully functional. So you can go grab the community license for free and basically work with any of those new features that I've just been talking about. So very, very powerful and simple enhancements to our licensing. And just to finish off here, it's got a bunch of links that I think will be important for people so they can check out the roadmap as it evolves, put in their own requirement requests and vote on other requirements. We take those very seriously. For items that haven't shipped yet, they become available in our early access program prior to their GA, and so people can kick the tires on those before we actually get it out into the marketplace. And then there's a whole bunch of information on 11.5 here. And the only other thing I'll point out is this last one. If you want to receive proactive notifications from us when something in our roadmap changes or whatever, we've had something new come out or new information, you can get a proactive notification, say on your mobile device or whatever, and you don't have to keep checking to see if there's something new out there. So we've added a proactive get information from us mechanism as well. And that takes us to the end of what I was going to go through. I apologize that the audio part of our demos weren't able to work, but hopefully that was useful information for the audience.
Les, that was pretty awesome. I do have a question about those licenses, the community standard and advanced. Is that right that there's no limit on how much data can be stored in those databases?
Yeah, so great question. On the community free edition, there is a 100 gigabyte database limit. And you're right, that wasn't listed there under the capacity limitations. That's for the community edition, but for the others, there's unlimited database size.
Well, that's pretty excellent, very awesome. That's a great competitive advantage for DB2, and I think that'll help get people involved with DB2. That's really awesome. Let me make myself the presenter and let's see if there's any questions from our audience. Let's see. Oh, and I do have another polling question. Let's check the questions. My computer's behaving badly today. Questions. There is a question here. Is IBM going to introduce JSON index like XML index called as X-index? Currently, we are storing data of JSON as a CLOB. Can any of our guests today feel that?
Absolutely. Excellent question. And as part of our JSON implementation, we have supported something that's called index on expression. And the index on expression capability allows you to build indexes on relevant parts, so not just like the first keywords or whatever, or tags or whatever of the JSON document, but on relevant business value parts of the JSON document that can then provide you the performance gains that you would want out of an index. So if that's probably about the most in-depth answer I can give now, but if you want more information, the audience knows how to reach me outside of this discussion. But index on expression is what you're looking for.
All right, good answer. And
hey, Scott, just wanted to add to that there's a book available in your links as well. IBM.com/db2JSON, and people can find all the info about new JSON capabilities there.
Very good. Right now we're asking our good-looking audience if they learned anything, and the results are pretty exciting. Check this out, guys. Good job today to all of our guests. We've succeeded in educating the IBM data community on something. Don't know what people learned, but they learned things, and that's fabulous. So we'll put that aside, and let's see, we did that, and oh, there's another question. Next question. What effect does the enhanced reduced logging have on replication? asked Dennis.
Yeah, so another great question. If you turn reduced logging on and then try and do a log-based replication solution like the QRep one I brought up, QRep will make sure it gets all the logs it needs to maintain the integrity of your standby site. So basically, you'll get a reduced value of the reduced logging, but your replication synchronization will be maintained.
Okay, great answer. And Dennis says thank you. Sanjay asks, when will the recording of this webinar be available? Excellent question. That's my afternoon project. After we get completed, we'll try to get all the media uploaded. What you want to do is go to dataviewshow.com/news. There's a news button right at the top of the show website, and the replay information will be under the news tab, and that's where you'll find it. Thanks for asking that. And with that, we're going to thank everybody for being here. Without an audience, we'd have no one to present to, and it's great to see such a good-sized audience today, people around the world joining us. Thank you, Eiley, Vin, and Les, our guest speakers. You guys were great. Thank you to our sponsors, IBM. Without IBM's sponsorship and support, this would not be possible. And IT Gain, nice company out of Germany. They make performance tools for DB2 LUW. They're the sponsor of the replay blog, so we can thank them. And you're going to find your replays and show news right there. I've got the URL for you, dataviewshow.com/news. So that's my thanks to everybody. Vin, Eiley, any closing thoughts?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for having us, and please reach out to myself or Vin if you have any questions about the masterclass or the hackathon. More than happy to answer any questions, and it was great to join the show today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. And when you get the replays out there, your Twitter handles are all over social media, so it'll be easy for people to find you. With that, we thank everyone again and wish everyone a terrific Friday tomorrow and a great weekend. Stay safe and have fun, whatever you do.